Good morning. Welcome to the First Unitarian Church of Hobart, where we strive to put love at the center of how we show up in the world. My name's Barb Lankel, and I am the worship associate this morning. So welcome, young and old, new friends and old friends. You are an essential part of our celebration today. Whether today is your first or your 1000th Sunday in our midst, we are stronger because you are with us. We are one people of many beliefs, many origins, sexualities, and genders. We are all growing, all learning, all loved. Just as you are welcome here. Today, our worship service will be led by our minister, Reverend Cathy Harrington. Since not everyone can attend in person, we are streaming this worship service online, and we extend a special welcome to all that are joining us virtually. Another way that we walk together is by joining together for fun and fellowship. If you have an announcement, try to send it by Wednesday to the Spark, and look for our weekly Spark for your announcements. And if you don't receive the Spark, fill out a visitor's form in the parish hall so you know what's happening. Does anybody have any announcements? Nobody gave me any announcements. Up. You want the people at home to hear them too.
You're the congregational president. You should know that.
You're right. We are moving Faith in Action this month to the 23rd, I believe, instead of the Wednesday, because we are going to attend, and we're going to encourage to attend. There's a Black History Month event going on in Porter that day. I can't find the info right here, but if you want to attend or are interested in more information, come see me. We felt that this was important for us to try to attend instead of doing Faith in Action. So we're gonna move Faith in Action to the Monday, the fourth Monday of the month, and then the fourth Wednesday anyway. That's the date of the event. So if you want to know more info, come see me. I did put it in the Spark for next week. Thanks.
Thank you, Madam President. So now please take a moment to greet your neighbor. Greet somebody you don't know, you've never talked to before. Okay, please turn off or silence your devices. And as you do so, allow yourself to enter sacred time together. And take a deep breath. And another. And join us in the spirit of reverence.
Each week, during our Sunday morning worship service, we join in reciting the words of our affirmation of faith, printed in your order of service or on the screen. Please join me, and then we're saying the words. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament. Service is its prayer. And this is our covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
The flaming chalice is a symbol of Unitarian Universalism. It suggests the transformations that take place when we are held within religious community. When we light the chalice in worship, we illuminate a world that we feel called upon to serve with love and a sense of justice. So please join me in lighting the chalice by reading the words on the screen and in your order of service. We gather this hour Now please stand for the doxology.
The opening words this morning are by Joan Javier Duval. We come from a people bound for freedom. We come from a people bound for freedom, determined to loosen the fetters of orthodoxy.
William Ellery Channing
William Ellery Channing.
declared reason and conscience to be our guides.
John Murray
John Murray
survived a shipwreck and preached a gospel of love, father of Universalism.
First Unitarian Church of Hobart.
We are gathered in a significant piece of Indiana's spiritual history.
Established in 1848, a group of 48 committed members with a vision led to this church building that was completed in 1876 and stands as Hobart's oldest church that continuously served its founding congregation.
This Unitarian church was founded on principles of morality, public worship, and the betterment of society, and has been a cornerstone of the Hobart community for over 150 years. We come from a people bound for freedom, determined to loosen the fetters of white supremacy.
Nathan Johnson,
Nathan Johnson,
a Black Universalist in New Bedford, Massachusetts, who sheltered Frederick Douglass on his first night of freedom.
James Reeb,
James Reed,
a white minister from the North who answered the call to march from Selma to Montgomery and was met with the violence of white supremacists. His death further catalyzed the passage of the Voting Rights Act.
Isaiah Barnwell,
Isaiah Barnwell,
founded the Jubilee Singers, the first Black-led Unitarian Universalist gospel choir.
we come from a people bound for freedom, determined to loosen the fetters of patriarchy.
Olympia Brown,
Olympia Brown,
fought to be admitted to seminary and become the first woman ordained by a domination in the United States. Campaigned for women's suffrage until the 19th Amendment was finally ratified.
Frances Ellen Watkins Harper,
Frances Ellen Watkins Harper,
spoke to the National Women's Rights Convention, insisting to the largely white-led suffragists that Black women and men must not be ignored in the movement for equal treatment.
helped to open, Sylvie Thygesen,
Sylvie Thygesen,
helped to open one of the first birth control clinics in the United States in St. Paul, Minnesota, 50 years before birth control became legal.
we come from a people bound for freedom, determined to loosen the fetters of all that dehumanizes and separates us from our dignity and sacred worth.
Dorothea Dix,
Dorothea Dix,
visited the cells of the mentally ill in Massachusetts, New Jersey, New Hampshire, Louisiana, and North Carolina, bringing to light their mistreatment and working to establish humane hospitals and just laws.
Martha and Waitsel Sharp
Martha and Waitsel Sharp
worked in secret to secure passage for those persecuted by Nazis in Europe, saving hundreds of lives.
Zach Walls.
Zach Walls.
Raised by two moms, he spoke out against Iowa's attempt to ban same-sex marriage and advocated for gender equality in the Boy Scouts of America.
We continue seeking to be truth tellers in our time.
We continue today as barrier breakers in the here and now.
We continue today as peacemakers for this moment. We are bound for freedom, building on foundations laid before us. Let us give thanks. Please rise in body or spirit and join us in singing hymn number 368, Now Let Us Sing. Good job.
Now let us sing to the power of faith within. Now let us sing to the power of faith within. Lift up your voice, lift up your voice. Let us sing to the power of the faith within. Now let us sing to the power of hope within. Now let us sing to the power of hope within. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Now let us sing to the power of the hope within. Now let us sing to the power of love within. Now let us sing to the power of love within. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Let us sing to the power of love within. Now let us sing to the power of joy within. Now let us sing to the power of the joy within. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Let us sing to the power of the joy within.
Okay, so our story for all ages is called Unspeakable. It's about the Tulsa Race Massacre. For many years, this was called the Tulsa Riot, which was wrong. And so this book tells the story. Once upon a time in Tulsa, there was a community called Greenwood. Its residents descended from black Indians, formerly enslaved people, and from exodusters who moved west in the late 1800s, fleeing the violence and racism of the segregated South. Once upon a time in Greenwood, there were some 10,000 people living in a 35-square-block area. Train tracks divided the black and white communities. Segregation laws called for separate neighborhoods, schools, phone booths, railroad and streetcar coaches. Unfair tests made it hard for blacks to register to vote, and laws barred marriage across racial lines. So many black businesses cropped up along a 1-mile stretch of Greenwood Avenue that educator and business leader Booker T. Washington called the area the Negro Wall Street of America. Later it became Black Wall Street, and the community kept thriving. And once upon a time on Black Wall Street, there were dozens of restaurants and grocery stores. There were furriers, a pool hall, a bus system, and an auto shop, nearly 200 businesses in all. There were also several libraries, a hospital, a post office, and a separate school system where some say black children got a better education than white. There were 2 black-owned newspapers, the Tulsa Star and the Oklahoma Sun, and over 20 churches. 15 black doctors, including Dr. A.C. Jackson, the most most able black surgeon in the nation. On Detroit Avenue stood grand homes of doctors, lawyers, and prominent businessmen. And once upon a time in Greenwood, there were barber shops and beauty salons. Miss Mabel's Little Rose Beauty Salon boomed on Thursdays, where maids who worked for white families got coiffed on their day off and strutted in style. Up and down Greenwood Avenue, the soda fountain at Williams Confectionery was the backdrop for scores of marriage proposals. And there was the luxurious Stratford Hotel, then the largest black-owned hotel in the nation. Black guests were welcome there even as they were barred from Tulsa's white hotels. And once upon a time in Greenwood, there were 2 movie theaters, including an 800-seat black-owned Dreamland. There were even 6 privately owned airplanes. But in 1921, not everyone in Tulsa was pleased with the signs of black wealth, undeniable proof that African Americans could achieve just as much, if not more, than whites. All it took was one elevator ride, one 17-year-old white elevator operator accusing a 19-year-old black shoeshine man of assault for simmering hatred to boil over. With the accused man in jail, the white-owned Tulsa Tribune newspaper ran a headline prompting readers to nab him. And fearing the man would be lynched, killed by a mob before his trial, 30 armed black men rushed downtown to his rescue. At the jail, they faced off with 2,000 armed whites. On May 31st, 1921, one day after Memorial Day, a holiday honoring fallen soldiers, skirmishes between the 2 groups left 2 black men and 10 white men dead. But the worst was yet to come. Unable to get to the jailed suspect, the white mob sparked rumors that the black community planned to attack. Unchecked and in some cases deputized by the police, the white mob stormed into Greenwood, looting and burning homes and businesses that blacks had saved and sacrificed to build. Threatening to shoot, the mob blocked firefighters from putting out the blazes. African American World War I veterans took up arms to defend their families and property, but they were outnumbered and outgunned. Families fled with what they could only carry. Once upon a time in Greenwood, up to 300 black people, including Dr. Jackson, were killed. Hundreds more were injured. More than 8,000 people were left homeless, and hundreds of businesses and other establishments were reduced to ash. The police did nothing to protect the black community. And when the National Guard arrived the next day, all that was left to do was put out fires and move thousands of black residents into camps outside of Tulsa as their community lay in ruins. Black residents had to carry passes to enter the city. In the days and weeks that followed, some black Tulsans left and never returned. Others stayed and rebuilt the Greenwood community, only to witness its decline in the 1960s. And for decades, survivors did not speak of the terror. 75 years passed before lawmakers launched an investigation to uncover the painful truth about the worst racial attack in the United States history. Police and city officials had plotted with the white mob to destroy the nation's wealthiest black community. Today, Tulsa's Reconciliation Park remembers victims of the 1921 massacre and recalls the role of African Americans in Oklahoma history. The park is not just a bronze monument to the past. It is a place to realize the responsibility we all have to reject hate and violence and to instead choose hope. That's the story. Thanks.
Each week, we share a portion of our Sunday offering with a social justice cause outside of our church walls. This month, in February, we'll be collecting for school supplies for Hobart kids in need with New Day and Hobart Methodist. Donations in the baskets will go to sustaining the mission of our congregation, and donations in the cups will go to help buy school supplies for Hobart children. For those not with us today, there's an online link for both one-time and regular donations. Now I have 4 volunteers, great. For your prayers, your presence, your service, and your gifts, we are truly grateful.
In the center of our service and in the center of our lives, let us pause to honor the silences of the world. Let us open our hearts to the place of quiet, to the silent prayer for the healing of pain and the soft, gentle coming of love. I want to share with you a prayer written by Marjorie Bowens-Wheatley and Clyde Grubbs, both Unitarian ministers. Marjorie has passed. She was a black woman, and Clyde is an a Native American. The road of history is long, full of both hope and disappointment. In times past, there have been wars and rumors of wars, violence, exploitation, hunger, hopelessness, homelessness, and the destruction of this earth, your creation. We have become a global village with a growing realization of how fragile this earth is and how interconnected we are to each other and to all creation. We cannot continue to live in the old way. We must make a change, see a new way, a way toward peace with justice and a healthy planet. Oh, great creative spirit, you have given a vision of the good, and we yearn for a new way. But where are we to find the courage to begin this work? We know that a different tomorrow is possible, but how can we build it? We think of the prophets, women and men who voiced unpopular opinions, who made personal sacrifices and sometimes lost their lives for the sake of justice. We think of Isaiah, who called out to let those who are held captive go free, to give solace to the poor and homeless. Let us be inspired by all who work to overcome misery, poverty, and exploitation. We think of Harriet Tubman, who called out people of goodwill to join her on an underground railroad to lift dehumanized people from the bondage of slavery to the promise of freedom, even when it meant challenging unjust laws. Let us be inspired by those who are outlaws for freedom. And we think of Gandhi, whose belief in the soul force, the witness to love's truth, helped to overthrow the oppression of an empire and gave witness to the way of nonviolent action. Let us be inspired to become witnesses for peace. We think of Chief Seattle, who reminded us that we belong to the earth, not the earth to us. Let us be inspired by all those who work for the healing of creation, of Mother Earth and all her creatures. Who are the prophets who inspire you? They may be well known, or known only to you, offering personal inspiration, courage, and hope. Let's just pause for a moment to think about who are the prophets who inspire you. May they join a great cloud of witnesses to a new way of life, the way of peace and justice, the way of justice lived according to the way of peace, the beloved community. So may it be. Amen. I invite you now to light a candle of memory or hope, or sit quietly as the music holds you in a meditative space. We also have our weeping well. This morning, if you'd like to dedicate a stone in the weeping well as maybe a prayer for truth and reconciliation and a better world. This candle is for you at home. Now let us fill this space with the names of loved ones we hold close in our hearts this morning, some suffering in sorrow and some celebrating in joy. May they feel the love and the warmth of our embrace.
Joys and sorrows are a time to share personal joys that you are celebrating so that we can celebrate with you as a community. It is also a time to share personal sorrows that weigh on your hearts so that we can support one another in our times of sorrow and grief. Keep in mind that this part of the service excludes our online members, friends, and visitors. Roz will come along with a microphone, stand up, state your name, and tell us your joy or sorrow. have a reading, Frederick Douglass by Robert Hayden. When it is finally ours, this freedom, this liberty, this beautiful and terrible thing, needful to man as air, usable as earth, when it belongs at last to all, when it is truly instinct, brain matter, distole, systole, reflex action, when it is finally won, when it is more than the gaudy mumbo-jumbo of politicians. This man, this Douglass, the former slave, this Negro beaten to his knees, exiled, visioning a world where none is lonely, none hunted, alien. This man, superb in love and logic, this man shall be remembered. Oh, not with statues, rhetoric, not with legends and poems and wreaths of bronze alone, but with the lives grown out of his life, the lives fleshing the dream of the beautiful, needful thing.
Thank you. Oh my goodness. So I want to have a look today. Last week we started with the beginnings of enslavement and up until 1865. And now I want to look at the era of Reconstruction and Jim Crow. Sometimes truth-telling is painful and uncomfortable. So, and also being a white person, I am not a scholar in history. I'm using the words from John Meacham. He wrote a book called The Soul of America, and there's a documentary on HBO. I highly recommend that you watch it. And then also, again, some words from Brian Stevenson, the founder of the Equal Justice Initiative. So, at the beginning, the introduction of the Soul of America documentary, John Meacham says, history tells us that the era we are living in is difficult, but not unique. The forces that are shaping the worst parts of us right now are forces that are a part of the American character. He says, I think that history gives us the ability to see what is the scope and nature of our crisis, how people in previous generations addressed those crises, and what are the lessons to apply here. It's a complicated and fraught history. We have been in terrible spots before. What we have to figure out is how to get out of them, and what lessons can we take to get through this. Meacham says, I'm not saying it's going to be fine, but I think it's on all of us. If we don't arm ourselves with a historical understanding of how complex our history was, we are not going to be able to think clearly enough to react in real time to save our country. He calls the times that we are living in as an era of politics as entertainment, politics as an unfolding, insistent drama. And the question most asked of John Meacham is, has it ever been like this before, and how can we get out of it? So, Meacham starts with 107 years ago when Woodrow Wilson was president of the United States. The country was fighting World War I, the First World War, and a huge portion of our country wondering why we're sending our boys to fight for nations we knew so little about. And then in 1919 and 1920, you had the prevalent fear that radicals, socialists, communists were taking away the country. Woodrow Wilson cracked down on civil dissent and civil liberties. A. Mitchell Palmer, the Attorney General at the time, launched a number of raids on suspected dissidents, and President Wilson closed down 400 newspapers. Immigration was at an extraordinary high and didn't stop until the 1924 legislation that put quota on immigrations from different countries. So now we're going to begin. I have some slides to share. This is the history they don't teach you in school. There was white anxiety about cultural identity, about economic opportunity that inspired the rebirth of the Ku Klux Klan in the 1920s. In 1925 and 26, 50,000 Klansmen marched down Pennsylvania Avenue in what was, as Meacham says, was a remarkable but not stunning public display. It was a big, broad-based racist army, and what they wanted to do was make America great again. The governor of Georgia announced that he wanted to build a wall of steel as high as heaven to keep immigrants out. So is there another slide about, okay. What's the next one? Okay, you can leave it there. The governor of Georgia announced he wanted to build a wall of steel as high as heaven to keep immigrants out. And as Mark Twain once said, history may not repeat itself, but it does rhyme. That was Meacham's joke. Nativism, xenophobia, racism, sexism, isolationism are perennial armed American forces, Meacham says. They ebb and flow. The story of race and fear and anxiety and violence is inextricably intertwined with the story of this country. It's not that the soul of our country has been captured by a particular group at a particular time. The soul of this country is, in fact, this essence, which is not all good or bad. These are Meacham's words. That has a religious component, certainly, but it also is a matter of historical observation. Our history is shaped by the extent to which those better angels or worst instincts win out over a given period of time. Next slide. So you see this, America first, one God, one nation. Where do you hear that? This was in the 1960s. Okay, next slide. So it was true in the 1760s. It was true in the 1860s. And it was true in the 1960s, which you saw before, and it is true today. This is Charlottesville, West Virginia, where they marched through the streets with their torches, screaming, they will not replace us. Okay? It was quite a display. No? Okay, so you can leave it there now. Time magazine, after the race riots, after the riots, where Heather Heyer was killed in Charlottesville, Time magazine called John Meacham and asked him if he had anything to say about the history of hate in America, American politics particularly. And so this is when John Meacham wrote the book, The Soul of America. So he started with Reconstruction and moved forward, and it became about the soul of the country. He said the fact that in the 21st century, people calling themselves Klansmen are in Charlottesville, Virginia, the home of Robert E. Lee, basically fighting for an antebellum vision of the world, is a remarkable thing. But it is not that remarkable if you know American history. And if you know that 5 minutes after Lee's surrender, the reaction sets in. White supremacy replaced slavery as the consuming concern of white Southerners. Segregation replaced human enslavement. And when people say the Civil War never really ended, this is what they mean. Meacham says if the 2016 election had gone the other way, he probably wouldn't have written about the soul of America. He said the American story is more generously applying the Jeffersonian idea that everybody gets a chance. Thomas Jefferson wrote, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, among them a life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." Jefferson didn't mean everybody, when he sat down to write that in June of 1776. He didn't mean women. He didn't mean people of color. He meant white men. But the story of the country is one in which we have more generously understood what that sentence meant, Meacham says, where we are opening our arms and not clenching our fists. For those who think the country can't change, he said more than 100 years ago, more than half of the population couldn't vote. This was to say that women were second-class citizens, are better angels, he said. Tell us that if all men are created equal, then all women and men are created equal. To make that real, which we did, women did, they fought for about 80-some years to get the right to vote. To make that real is a victory for our better angels. The good news is that we have come through such darkness before, as time and again, Lincoln's better angels have found a way to prevail. And so can you go back to that slide? This is the office of the Freedmen's Bureau in Memphis, Tennessee, 1866, created by the federal government to aid newly freed slaves. The next slide is a picture of the same Freedmen's schoolhouse being burned down. Next slide. These are the first black senator, H.R. Revels of Mississippi, and the representatives. Black men during Reconstruction were being elected to office. The next picture. And this whole state of Louisiana, they were all black, all of the legislatures. Next slide. All right, Jim Crow. And so this is the Jim Crow era. These slides are challenging and difficult. So the Jim Crow Museum at Ferris State University in Big Rapids, Michigan, was founded by David Pilgrim and co-founded by a person who had been a member of my church in Ludington, Michigan. He was a professor. So he took me there. The first time I went through there and saw some of the things, like the cartoons, I'm old. I was born in 51. The cartoons I saw on TV were really horribly racist. And when I saw those cartoons being shown in the museum, I cried. And you'll cry your way through the whole museum. But these are just some of the ads and the things that they use to degrade people of color, black people in particular. Okay, you can just run through them. It shocks the conscience to see these images that we were being bombarded with. Okay, you can stop there. That's Detroit, Michigan. Brian Stevenson writes about the Jim Crow era. And the Reconstruction era. He says, we cannot understand our present moment without recognizing the lasting damage caused by allowing white supremacy and racial hierarchy to prevail during Reconstruction. Within a decade after the Civil War, Congress began to abandon the promise of assistance to millions of formerly enslaved black people. Violence, mass lynchings, and lawlessness enabled white Southerners to create a regime of white supremacy and black disenfranchisement, along with a new economic order that continued to exploit black labor. White officials in the North and the West similarly rejected racial equality, codified racial discrimination, and occasionally embraced the same tactics of violent control seen in the South. In the Equal Justice Initiative report, he says, in 1865, after 2.5 centuries of brutal enslavement, black Americans had the great hope of emancipation that would finally mean real freedom and opportunity. And most formerly enslaved people in the United States were remarkably willing to live peacefully with those who had held them in bondage, despite the violence they had suffered and the degradation that they had endured. Emancipated Black people put aside their enslavement and embraced education, hard work, faith, citizenship with extraordinary enthusiasm and devotion. By 1868, over 80% of Black men who were eligible to vote had registered. Schools for Black children became a priority, and courageous Black leaders overcame enormous obstacles to win elections to public office. The Reconstruction era offered great promise and could have radically changed our country. But it came clear that emancipation in the U.S. did not mean equality for Black people. The commitment to abolish chattel slavery was not accompanied by a commitment to equal rights or equal protection for African Americans, and the hope of Reconstruction quickly became a nightmare of unparalleled violence and oppression. In a series of devastating decisions, the United States Supreme Court blocked congressional efforts to protect formerly enslaved people. In a decision after decision, the court ceded control to the same white Southerners who used terror and violence to stop Black political participation, upheld laws and practices codifying racial hierarchy, and embraced a new constitutional order defined by states' rights. Most Americans know very little about the Reconstruction era and its legacies. Historians have overlooked this critical 12-year period that has had a profound impact on life in the United States. Stevenson says, our collective ignorance of what happened immediately after the Civil War has contributed to misinformation, stereotypes, and misguided false narratives about who is honorable and who is not, and has allowed bigotry and the legacy of racial injustice to persist. As I said last week, the narrative of inequality of people of color and white supremacy came over on the Mayflower, and it has stayed. The North won the Civil War, but the South won the narrative. The statistics and the numbers of people that were victims of terror lynching during a 12-year period, at least 2,000 Black women, men, and children were victims of racial terror lynchings. And so the Reconstruction era ended with the Compromise of 1877, and then immediately after that began the Jim Crow era. And that was named after the minstrel character that you saw earlier. The laws that were mandated by Jim Crow were separate but equal. And the Black codes have laid the foundation for systems of laws and customs that support a system of white supremacy that we still live with. So David Pilgrim, the founder of Jim Crow Museum, wrote, all racial groups have been caricatured in this country, but none have been caricatured as often or as in many ways have Black Americans. Black people have been portrayed in popular culture as pitiable exotics, cannibalistic savages, hypersexual deviants, childlike buffoons, obedient servants, self-loathing victims, and menaces to society. These anti-Black depictions were routinely manifested or on materials, ashtrays, drinking glasses, banks, games, fishing lures, detergent boxes, and everyday items. These objects with racist representations both reflected and shaped attitudes toward African Americans. As I said last week, and I'll say again, Brian Stevenson believes that education is action. And the more we learn and understand about our history, the better chance we have to win this fight. The better angels of our nature over the worst instincts of our nature. So we've seen this. We saw the better angels of the nature of the Minneapolis people who truly love their neighbors. So the good news, Meacham says, is that we have come through such darkness before, as time and time again, Lincoln's better angels have found a way to prevail. But he said it is up to us. I'm sorry this was challenging. I wish I could make you happy, but that's part of my job. Comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable. And so may it be so. Amen. I want you to stand and rise and sing, lift every voice and sing. This is the known as the Black National Anthem. And I also don't want you to ever think of Black people as victims. They are resilient, incredibly strong people who have survived and continue to survive.
Lift every voice and sing. Sing a song full of the freedom Christ has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that present has brought us. Fixing
Words on the screen or in your order of service to accompany our extinguishing of the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth.
These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. I chose a benediction written by Langston Hughes. It's called I Too. I too sing, America. I am the darker brother. They send me to eat in the kitchen when company comes, but I laugh and eat well and grow strong. Tomorrow I'll be at the table when company comes. Nobody'll dare say to me, eat in the kitchen then. Besides, they'll see how beautiful I am and be ashamed. I too am America. Thank you for being here. And next Sunday, we will be celebrating Black lives who have changed the world, and we will celebrate. I forgot to say that in your order of service, The Venerable Bhikkhu Panakata, the lead monk who led the peace walk, is one of my heroes, my prophets. And I want you to put these on your refrigerator, on your bathroom mirror, by your nightstand where you will see it, and perhaps read it to start your day or end your day. And let's, yes. And also in remembering that Alex Preddy and Renee Good were killed, but there was also a gentleman, Robert, somebody, his name. See, I don't even know his name. Isn't that terrible? That is shameful, right there. Shameful. Thank you for being here. Let's go and have fellowship.